Parliament Alban Bagbin for contempt of the Supreme Court after accusing him of supervising lawlessness, leading to yet another adjournment of the House indefinitely.
Also, Second High Court directs parties in the case of the parliamentary candidate for Memphis Central to resolve the intra-party issues by Sunday and come back on Monday for a ruling.
Actually, later on the program, President Akrofi Ocansey grant executive approval for the elevation of some assemblies.
We have details of this here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Remember, we're also live on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Remain your election command center with some 30 days to December 7. We'll tell you what the various presidential candidates of the political parties have been up to here on your election command center. Fair Wages and Salaries Commission has also been talking on the matters relating to the Civil and Local Government Staff Association as a clock-sack strike. We'll give you an update on that here on Hot Edition. Remember as well, we have the latest in the world of business and sports in the package this evening.
And for now, though, Sarfoa is here with the latest in summary. Sarfoa, what do you have?
Thank you, Beatrice, and welcome to the new summary segment. Let's go to the details now. For the second time, Speaker Alban Bagbin has adjourned Parliament indefinitely when the House met again today, November 7, following an earlier adjournment on October 22. The Speaker adjourned because the NPP caucus was not in chamber. Speaking to the MPs present, Alban Bagbin stated that since the NPP MPs were not present, a quorum could not be formed for the House to conduct business. But in a heated development from Parliament, leader of the NPP caucus, Alexander Akrofi, has accused the National Democratic Congress NDC of lawlessness after their members occupied the majority side of the chamber once again during today's session. Akrofi also leveled criticism at Speaker Alban Bagbin, alleging that he allowed NDC lawmakers to continue this act without intervention. The majority leader described these actions as disruptive to parliamentary order and decorum. As tensions rise, many are watching to see how leadership will address the increasingly polarized atmosphere in Parliament. Also, the Electoral Commission has given all registered political parties and independent candidates soft copies of the Certified Voters Register as required by law on November 6, 2024. The information provided on external hard drives includes key lists like the Valid Voters Register, the Exceptions List, and the Proxy Voters List. Responding to a special request from the National Democratic Congress NDC, the Electoral Commission went beyond legal requirements to generate additional summaries of these lists for transparency. Away from that, the National Democratic Congress has filed a fresh writ at the Second High Court following the EC's refusal to recognize Joanna Jan Kujo as the duly elected NDC candidate for Memphis Central, despite a previous High Court order or High Court ruling in Second on May 13, 2024, which had ordered that Kujo be acknowledged as a legitimate candidate. But today, when the case was called, the Commercial Division of the Second High Court, presided over by His Lordship Justice Jan Konto adjourned the case to Monday, November 11. And on to our last story. President Akrofi Ocansey has granted executive approval for the elevation of some local authority institutions. The president, in a response to a request by the Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development Minister Martin Ejamin Sakosa, recommended for the upgrades of some municipal, metropolitan and district assemblies, MMDEs. And that brings us to the end of our new summary segment, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Sarfoa. And let's start with from Parliament, and the leader of the new Patriotic Party caucus, Alexander Akrofi, has accused the Speaker of the House, Alban Bagbin, of supervising lawlessness by the National Democratic Congress lawmakers. The accusation follows yet another adjournment of the House by the Speaker earlier today. Well, MPs were summoned for an extraordinary sitting today to undertake some urgent government business. However, the Speaker shortly after convening adjourned indefinitely, citing a lack of quorum to take decisions.
Unfortunately, the signatories who made the request have not shown up, and therefore matters that they wanted us to handle, which are admitted for the consideration of the Business Committee, are not on the order paper, and in fact, there's no order paper for today because the business committee could not meet due to the absence of the people who requested for the recall. And as you can see, one side of the House
3FM 92.7
is completely empty. In view of this, we have, as usual, got a quorum to sit, but we have no business before us to transact, because the business committee, as you know, they prepare a report, and this report is adopted by the House as business agreed by the House to transact during the course of the week. In the absence of that, there is no other authority that can put business before you which you have not adopted to transact. In view of the failure of the business committee to sit, as a result of the refusal of those who requested for the recall to show up, we are compelled to once again adjourn the sitting of the House. Knowing the challenges we are facing, it is not advisable.
And you heard the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin. Well, shortly after the adjournment, the Afuto MP addressed a news conference and accused the Speaker of supervising lawlessness by the NDC MPs. He said that the Speaker failed to direct the NDC caucus not to occupy seats designated for the majority side of the House.
Perhaps I call it ex-cathedral.
3FM 92.7.
Creating an impression as though those statements he's making are an authority on their own. It cannot be. A true Democrat will respect the rule of law. And that is why we decided to respect him. You know, ladies and gentlemen of the press, NPP, our tradition is to respect rule of law. It's out of deference to Mr. Speaker. That is why we did not enter the chamber. That we should share in that chaos theater with them. Never. We will not. MPP will not. We will not. Therefore, don't be swayed by their lies and their propaganda. The chaos they started is what they want to end. We will not allow that. Now, from the horse's own mouth, granted that all these prominent people misrepresented to us, the majority. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker himself, in his press conference in the afternoon, enumerated a number of things. Amongst them, he said he had not made a ruling. He told the whole of the country that he had not made a ruling. So if he claims that what he did was a formal communication in response to a statement from the minority, then why is he supervising chaos in the House? What Mr. Speaker did today amount to supervising chaos and bringing the image of democracy.
And you heard Alexander Akrofi. He's the leader of the NPP caucus in Parliament, Minister for Trade and Industry, and MP for Adansiaskwa, KT Hammond, had earlier told journalists their side will cite the Speaker for contempt for disregarding a Supreme Court order to stay a ruling that declared some 4 seats vacant.
Can't be right. It can't be right.
Honorable, you did not.
What is it? The Parliament is a master of its own regulations and its own. It's nonsense. That's not the case. The Supreme Court is spoken. The Speaker is supposed to get the House in order to let us do what we are supposed to be doing. Why we are here? Why does he consistently keep like
He's not based on the Constitution, but standing on.
What does he? You see, listen. Be careful. Listen to what you are saying. I don't expect the Speaker to be saying things like that. He's a seasoned lawyer. He can't be saying that. He doesn't act on the basis of the Constitution, but on the basis of the standing orders. What are the standing orders? The master of the. But that's an entirely different matter. What's an entirely different matter? Supreme Court is simply asked that you should give an order to restore what the situation was.
But you are not.
You are not listening. We recall Parliament. The Speaker, when he sat, was supposed to do a first thing, and the first thing was supposed to be this: the decision, the ruling that I made on the particular day has been overset, has been stayed by the Supreme Court, which interprets the Constitution, which interprets what we do over here. Accordingly, the status quo ante should be reverted to. So we would know that we are going back to this. Why should the NDC guys rush to go and sit on the side of the NDC bank? What is that? No, but that is not the point. But where were they sitting? Where were the NDC people sitting? No, you are not listening to me. You are not listening to me. Let's get the facts right. Where were the NDC guys sitting? Is that where they're supposed to be sitting? But you see, we have a convention. We have a convention. It's not argument, nonsense. You guys are not listening. Supreme Court is speaking. It is all for us members of Parliament on the majority side to be arguing at any point. This is a matter. This is foreclosed. It is completely foreclosed. Supreme Court is speaking. That is the end of the matter.
Why were you not at the business?
That is again. If he said that, listen.
An obvious angry MP for Adansiaskwa, Katie Hammond, speaking to journalists earlier. We do have on the line with us Murtala Mohammed. He's the Member of Parliament for Tamale Central and a member of the NDC caucus in Parliament. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and good evening to your cherished listeners.
Earlier, you had expressed your reservations about how the NPP caucus called or asked the Speaker to recall the House, and yet they were not there. And I remember you estimating it to cost about almost $1 million. I'm just $1 million Ghana cedis. I'm wondering what you make of the outcome of today's sitting altogether.
Well, first and foremost, you listen to not just a seasoned politician and not just a member of Parliament, but a minister of state. The vulgar with which he attacked Mr. Speaker, attacked you, the journalists, and attacked the people of this country is completely unacceptable. And that explains why this country is in this sorry state. And again, to add that the likes of Katie Hammond are the reasons why me, Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, insist I should not be addressed as honorable, because the conduct of characters such as that are completely dishonorable. What was the crime of the Speaker? The MPP triggered Article 1123 and Standing Orders 53, Parliament. Article 1123 of the 1992 Constitution and Standing Order 53 of Parliament. That enjoins the Speaker to recall Parliament should at least 15% of members of Parliament demand, and in writing and with signatures. So the Speaker did exactly what the MPP wanted him to do. Now, we were supposed to sit today. Some of us were having serious and important assignments we engage in. And I'll tell you, I just started harvesting my rice, and I was in the farm when this call was made. I had to abandon everything, abandon my campaign, just to be in Parliament. And now, you know how Parliament operates. Parliament doesn't operate like Katie Hammond selling cuckoo on the street. Before Parliament sits, we have a committee known as the Business Committee. Honorable Afenyo Martins, the then majority leader and now minority leader, is the chair of that particular committee. Yesterday, they were supposed to meet, and the Business Committee always meet to set the agenda for the sitting of Parliament. Sometimes they can sit 2 days before the actual sitting, sometimes 1 day. And even on the day of the sitting, the leadership, including Speaker, would enter into conclave to agree based on what is printed in the order paper. Now, the Speaker and the NDC majority leadership, they were all there yesterday for the Business Committee to meet. Honorable Afenyo Martins and the MPP members did not turn up. They refused to participate in the meeting.
I'm sure you heard what Mr. Afenyo Martins said, that who are you?
I'll come to that ignorant, and I say this without any apology. Analysis he gave, who is he trying to deceive? He's either being completely ignorant or he wants to deceive the people of this country. Now, when we went to the chamber, If you read standing Article 102 of the 1992 Constitution, it spells out clearly the quorum for business for sitting to commence. And you should have at least half of members of Parliament present. But the quorum for Parliament to begin is not the same quorum for business to be taken. For business, you need 1/3 of members of Parliament. Now, when we went to the chamber, the MPP members were not there. It was only Honorable Atachian who came, entered into the chamber briefly, and left. So we had the quorum to commence business, but we didn't have the quorum to commence proceedings, but we didn't have the quorum to take business. That is one. And again, there was no other paper, because the other paper spells out what you need to do. And let me come to Afenyo's knee-jerk response when he said that because the reasons or the purpose for the recall was known, there wasn't any need for the business committee to meet. That's an absolute lie. The reason why the business committee meets is that one, any time we want to sit, the leadership would have known the business that would be in the other paper. They meet anyway. You meet first and foremost to agree on the business. So if you look at the reason for the recall, the business statement, the business committee, which includes both minority, majority, and the speaker and the clerk, you can sit and disagree with some aspects of the business. You can sit at the business committee and amend certain aspects of the reasons for the recall. And again, you also meet at the business committee to arrange the agenda in order of preference. Assuming we're to meet for 2 days, the decision would have been taken yesterday that we'll take this one first, this one second, this one today, and the other one the next day. So to say that because the people of this country, or because the purpose for which the recall was made was known, there wasn't any need for the business committee to meet, that is an absolute irresponsibility and complete ignorance or appreciation of why the business committee sits. So for him to say that, it's laughable. So it is that point should be thrown to the dogs. We shouldn't even consider it. And I was expecting you, let me land. I was expecting you journalists to have asked him, because you have seasoned reporters who were there when he was throwing out that rubbish. Those seasoned reporters didn't point out to him that the reasons why the meeting of the business committee is important. In any case, the other paper, another very important reason why the business committee ought to meet, even if the agenda is known, so that it can be captured in the other paper, so that every single member would be properly informed as to the agenda for the day. Now, the leadership may know the reason, but we members of parliament can only be communicated to why we are sitting in the other paper. This is the first time in this Fourth Republic, if I'm not mistaken, that we come to sit and there was no a single other paper. For my good friend Afenyo, he was saying that. But the reason what Afenyo Martin should be worried, when they went into the MPP caucus, they were not up to 50. His entire team has abandoned him. He's not focused on that, on the thing that the speaker must be attacked. And let me also make this point. Parliament is not an extension of the Supreme Court. Let people be told the judiciary has no power. The Constitution hasn't given them more power than the legislature. And they should go and read the writings of Professor Montesquieu and John Locke, the purpose for separation of powers, checks, and balances. And in fact, I have been saying this. In a democracy, the legislature is more important than the judiciary. Why is it that you can have a government without parliament, but you cannot have democracy without parliament?
I'm sure yesterday you followed the speaker's press conference where he accused the judiciary of colluding with the executive to weaken parliament. Today, Afenyo Martin seemed to have responded, as it were, by equally accusing the speaker of colluding with your group to ensure that government business suffers. How do you react to that?
The fact that Afenyo Martin is a member of parliament and a leader at that, who would attack the legislative arm for the satisfaction of the judiciary, tells everybody the kind of democracy we are practicing under Nana Ado. It is the responsibility of every member of parliament to protect and defend the sanctity of the legislature. Yet you do this. What the Supreme Court they do every day, they behave more like foot soldiers. How can you say, how can the Chief Justice herself say that there is a constitutional crisis? What constitutes a constitutional crisis? And says that Parliament is not sitting. Must Parliament sit every day or the entire 360 days? Why? If there is any threat to the democracy and the Constitution, it's the conduct of Afenyomakins and Co. that constitutes a bigger threat.
He thinks that it is rather the NDC, as allowed by the Speaker, trying to set the country on fire.
What did the Speaker do that is wrong in this matter?
He thinks, for instance, he says that when Parliament reconvened today, you were supposed to sit on the minority side. You went to sit where they were supposed to sit, and the Speaker looked over that.
Where are we supposed to sit on the minority side? In any case, as to where minority or majority sits, is not enshrined in the Constitution, neither is it in the standing orders of Parliament. It's a convention. That's one. Two, or show me where in the Constitution that says that the majority sits on the right, minority sits on the left. Two, the Speaker makes a ruling. And the ruling the Speaker makes
so now
the NDC being majority now. There's no denial about that fact. Now, even if the Speaker were to put aside his earlier ruling in the matter of the absence of those members of Parliament, which automatically makes the NDC the majority, even if the Speaker were to put aside, until that action is done or taken, we can't sit anywhere except where we sat today. Now, assuming that we sat in the Parliament, and the Speaker says, look, I'm rescinding my earlier ruling that the 4 members of Parliament are no longer, can still be members of Parliament, on the represented MPP in Parliament. If the Speaker were to make that ruling, we wouldn't have had any problem than to move on back to where we were. But until that decision is rescinded by the Speaker, you cannot expect us to go and sit on the side of the minority.
Let me ask you my last question, Mr. Murtala Mohammed. The NPP caucus says it would cite the Speaker for contempt of the Supreme Court. Is your group concerned?
If anybody who should be cited for contempt, it should be the Chief Justice and the justices who sat on the matter of Afenyomakins. In the first place, the Supreme Court made a decision on the basis of deceit. Afenyomakins went to the Supreme Court using evidence that happened on the said Thursday. Mind you, whatever decision that is taken by Parliament ought to be approved by the Parliament and adopted through vote and proceedings the next sitting. We sat on Thursday. Friday, we never sat. We approved what happened on Thursday on the next Tuesday. Yet Afenyomakins went to Parliament on Thursday, using what happened on that said Thursday, something that was not approved and adopted by Parliament. So it was not an official position of Parliament. Yet the Supreme Court could not do that simple due diligence. They couldn't do that. They ruled on that. If there is any group of persons who should be cited for contempt, it should be the Chief Justice and the justices who sat on the matter. Mind you, the Constitution enjoins only 2 arms out of the 3 arms the power and the capacity to cite for contempt. The judiciary can cite for contempt. The legislature can also cite for contempt. When they called us the other day, I was of the view that the Speaker should have cited the Chief Justice and the justices who sat on the matter for contempt of Parliament, and who says that Parliament doesn't have the capacity to do that. We live in a country where, as if the judiciary is untouchable, their statement and position is sacrosanct. You can't criticize them even when they are wrong. Who tells you that? Who tells Afenyomakins that the judiciary is more important than the legislative arm?
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much, Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, MP for Tamale Central and a member of the NDC caucus in Parliament.
Let's still stay a bit further on this matter, and Dr. Amakoma is joining us on the telephone right now. He is a political analyst. In fact, he's been watching this quite closely. He's a governance expert as well, sharing his thoughts on this matter. Dr. Makoma, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. It's good to hear from you.
Yes.
Now, it's quite clear that there are two entrenched positions at play right now. There have been calls that from this moment there has to be mediation, negotiation, and some form of compromise. Who should lead this, and who should really initiate this particular call for this negotiation and compromise?
Well, under normal circumstances, it should be the president or somebody appointed by the president to act in his stead. Because the two branches of government cannot be fighting because there is no higher authority above them. So whoever comes in will play a mediator's role. That's it. I'm just surprised. I'm just very, very surprised and saddened how vehemently they want to fight. When the problem lies with the Constitution itself. It's not Supreme Court. It is not Parliament. Because the Constitution is written. The Speaker works with what is there. Article 97 says that you can declare the seat vacant. So somebody has done it before. That's the president. So he did it. He cannot say the Constitution is not properly written to wait, let's go back and look at it again. You can't say that. What is there is what you work with. And see, we worked with it. And it has produced this impasse. What we need is peace. So the president, okay, you two come here. Why is this? This is even interesting because it's an academic exercise. Somebody wrote this thing for us and we copied it. Doesn't mean it's cast in stone. It's not 10 commandments. You understand? This is the Constitution of Kenya. 1969 Constitution of Kenya is what we copied. And it's not properly written in this text. I don't even know if this part is part of it. Or whatever. I don't think it is. This is our own. And it's completely wrong. Somebody cannot spend money, canvass his constituency, campaign, people go and vote for him, be elected, and then you sit there and say, your seat is declared vacant. By what authority?
See,
who can do that?
Now, you made the point earlier that under normal circumstances, the president should be leading this attempt for mediation, negotiation, and some compromise. Why do you then underscore that statement with if it were normal circumstances? Are we in an abnormal situation?
Because it's not normal circumstances. Because the president is behind the MPP.
The president is behind this?
Leader is behind them. And this is why the Supreme Court was so quick to jump in. Remember, the Speaker had already made a pronouncement that they don't have any stake in this and they will stay out. And why did he come in? Because somebody is cajoling them to help me. And so, how does he become a mediator now? He can't. This is the whole thing. He doesn't have the credibility to take a side and then become a mediator too. But the whole thing is a mess, complete mess. The way it is written is I don't know how to describe it. It's sad, really. Educated people should not do things like that. You are writing a constitution. Everything you write down, there must be a lot of questions. What do you mean by declare the seat vacant? Why? Because what? It changes mind about the association. Freedom of association is what brings this about. He has the freedom to associate with NDC. He has the freedom to associate with MPP. You just have to do the groundwork before it's done. So if somebody tells you, I'm going to go independent this time, you cannot by that say, okay, already we've thrown you out. Why? Even if you are going to do it, you haven't done it yet. You understand? Going to do it is not done yet. So you wait. How do you see that he has done it? What is the evidence? It's elections. This is what I said when the Speaker first issued this ruling that the three seats have been vacant, declared vacant because he had a precedent. And I said, okay, I understand what you are saying. You are looking at that and you. But somebody makes a wrong ruling. You cannot say because you made a wrong ruling and nobody said anything, I can make it too. No, you can't. Because if you make it, the Supreme Court can take you to task. Because the reason why they allowed the first one to go, nobody challenged it. If nobody
Somebody will come
challenges
to me.
it,
You
the
come to
Supreme Court by itself cannot challenge it on somebody's behalf. But this time, somebody challenged it. This is how law works.
But Dr. Makoba, that argument about the futuristic impact of the decisions of these sitting members of parliament who have declared their position that they're going to go independent, and in fact it has been captured by the notice of poll by the Electoral Commission. The Speaker in his position indicates that if the Article 97(1) G and H were to apply only to future parliaments or the future intentions of a sitting MP, they will be rendered superfluous. By the time the next parliament is constituted, any member of parliament who has defected or switched political allegiance during the current parliament that he or she is serving will no longer be in violation of that provision. They will start the next session aligned with their new party or as an independent. There will be no defection and the violation will be wiped out.
To be honest, I don't put any currency in that argument.
Why is that?
The point is, he is a bona fide member of parliament. You understand?
But that's
nobody is higher than
making
him
reference
in the
to what the law is. Unless you're proposing an amendment of the Article 97 G and H.
97, I told you, is wrongly written. That's what I said. Nobody should be able to declare any seat vacant. That is the problem. Don't you see it? That is the crust of the matter. Not this one said is other. Nobody has the right to declare any seat vacant when a person is a bona fide MP won. Can't he change his mind? You can marry a wife and then 2 months later, 1 year later, you change your mind, you divorce her, marry somebody else. Freedom of association also means freedom of disassociation. You understand? It is freedom of association that brings about party affiliation and all sorts of other things. Right? But why is ours this way? That when it comes to party affiliation, there's no freedom of association. What's going on here? You are violating the very constitution you are sworn to uphold. You are violating the article that talks about freedom of association. So you guys in parliament, you don't know that. You don't know that. That is what brings about the possibility of other people coming to join your party, and they are free to leave. They have to go through certain modalities to be able to do that. If they do it, that's the end of it.
Tomakoba, appreciate you.
What really shows who is majority, who is minority, is not what somebody said. What shows who is minority and who is majority is the number of seats assigned to that majority by elections, not by word of mouth.
Right.
You understand? Because that's the evidence. He has the evidence. Okay, MPP got 37, there they are, they're minority. You got 97, you're majority. That's the end of it.
Dr. Makoba.
What you intend to do.
Right on. We'll have a further conversation on this matter on another platform. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right.
Dr. Makoba is a senior political science lecturer at the KNU, former senior political science lecturer at the KNUST, and also a senior member of the New Patriotic Party.
And let's take you a little bit back to what transpired in Parliament. Noble Crosby Annan was there the whole time for us. He joins us live in the studio now. Crosby, I know that the leader of the NDC caucus, Kesa Forson, responded immediately after the adjournment of the House. Just really tell us more about what you saw whilst you were there beyond what we saw on our screens.
Well, it was a very swift parliamentary sitting today. It lasted less than 30 minutes, less than 20 minutes if you like. And then when the Speaker adjourned the House indefinitely, the MPs, NDC MPs, after the usual began to walk out of the chamber. Now the leadership, Atufor Amakofi Ocansey, and some other members, they came out of the dome and they decided to engage the media. Atufor started with how disappointed he is with the NPP side that they did not come to Parliament. The NPP side of the House, they initiated the recall of the House, but they didn't come, so he was very disappointed. He said that they are causing financial loss to the state because the sitting of Parliament cost money. The sitting that had to be adjourned cost money to the state and then to the MPs themselves. He also accused the NPP MPs of evading government business, of not wanting to do business. He says they have checked out of managing the country. Essentially, they are focusing on their campaigns because they are very certain that Nana Akufo-Addo, the MPP government, I beg your pardon, will not be able to win the 2024 general election. So they're trying to, secure their parliamentary seats if they can. He says they're not paying attention to government business, while the MPP, are accusing the NDC of frustrating government business when, as a matter of fact, the NDC, they are there, they're ready to do government business, but the people who should bring the business, the MPP, have not brought it. So essentially that's what he's saying. He says that they have lost focus. They're dancing to Sisifia, King Paluta's Sisifia song, one of the campaign songs of the Dr. Baumia campaign team. We will take a listen to what Otto Forsen said.
To show up. Clearly what we are seeing here is an abuse of the Constitution and the standing orders of Ghana's Parliament. The NPP Minority Caucus have indeed caused financial loss to the state and to us, the NDC members of Parliament, and to the people of Ghana. We say this because this recalls cost Ghana money. This is not the first time that they have done this. They've done this a couple of times, but we see nothing than disrespect. We call on the people of Ghana to see the behavior of the MPP and punish them accordingly. They have certainly, everything shows that the MPP are tired, they are fed up, and they are not ready to work for the people. They are bereft of ideas and they are short of vision. They cannot solve the suffering of the people. All what they do out there during campaigns, in spite of the hashing, is to sing and dance Osisifia. That's all what they do. In times like this, when the ordinary Ghanaian is struggling to survive, they are dancing and singing Osisifia and sharing money. We want Ghanaians to see them as such and vote against them and sack them. Because clearly, you can see, we have over 100 NDC MPs here today out of the 137, and we are determined to do what is right. But colleagues, let me make this point to the people of Ghana. Let no one deceive you that the NDC is here to obstruct the people's business. No, we are rather here to work for the people of Ghana. We see this as a call to duty. We turn up in our numbers to do what we have to do, only to find out that the very group of people that called us to consider government business, they have no business.
And you heard the leader of the NDC caucus in Parliament, Dr. Alfred Akrofi. Well, the Asin Central Member of Parliament on the side of the NPP caucus, Kennedy Japan, had some explanations as to why members were not in chambers.
So we took a decision that, look, can go with the leadership, engage the speaker and the NDC people, then we go in, because we heard they are sitting on our side, which is the right-hand side of the speaker. So go and engage the speaker. Unfortunately, when we got there, they were sitting. That is why we returned. Not that I was running away. And we couldn't stop the proceedings. So it's not deliberate that MPP refused. We needed to engage the speaker. I'm not the leadership. I'm not one of them. But they respect my opinion. And I know speaker is my friend. Before I even came to Parliament, he was my company lawyer. So I give him that respect. And sometimes I go to him and share ideas. So they say this time, go to your man. Unfortunately, our caucus meeting took so long, and there was no TV there for us to see that they were sitting. So, young man, I was not running away. We were coming to consult the speaker and the minority group before we go in there. And unfortunately, when we went there, he was sitting. And we had to walk away. Now, the question is, where NDC was sitting, where did you want me to go and sit? Exactly. Where? Or if you go and fight them. Do you want me to go and pull my chair from my colleague from the other side? No.
We don't want that January 7th, 2021, what transpired at the chamber to continue, to be a precedent. No. So, peacefully, I just worked out with Deputy Majority Leader and the two whips. We want peace to prevail. So, please, you are the mouthpiece of this country. Whatever you do, if you do it right, it will benefit the country. You go wrong, the whole country will be doomed.
And you heard the Asin Central Member of Parliament, Kennedy Japon, giving us reasons as to why the MPP caucus was not in chambers.
We'll just move away briefly from matters in Parliament, because there's a lot that happened earlier today and a lot is happening as we speak as a result of the earlier indications in Parliament. The reactions has been quite a lot, and a number of you commenting on this on our social media handles. We'll get to it shortly. But President Akrofi Ocansey has granted executive approval for the elevation of some local assemblies. The President, in response to a request by the Local Government Decentralization and Rural Development Minister Martin James Akosa, recommended for the upgrades of some municipal, metropolitan and district assemblies. The following have been upgraded from municipal assemblies to metropolitan assemblies. As Katamanso Municipal Assembly will now be a metropolitan assembly. Gomoa East, Techiman. The President has also approved 12 district assemblies to now be elevated to municipal assembly status. They are Bole District Assembly, Efija Kwabre South, Chuma Kwanwa, Chuma Wabieja North District, Obuasi East District, Setre South District, Ningo Pram District, Anglonga District, Southong District, Shama District, Techiman North, and the Pru East District. Now, let's speak to local governance expert Dr. Frederick Odro to better understand what exactly this means. And Dr. Odro, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Good evening.
And on the face of it, we've seen elevation, but obviously this comes with resource implications as well, and others, does it not?
Well, to an extent, because there are things that must be done within a district assembly and what should be done in a municipal assembly and what is done in a metro assembly. The number of departments in each of them are not the same. So you would expect that to elevate a district, certain issues must be factored into it. But basically, what informs much of this decision is to do with the population size of that area. When there is a high population growth and you believe it is within the ability of that district to handle that kind of situation, that is for that area to be elevated, then you consider that. Hitherto, we've had only 6 metros in this country. And for quite some time, people have even questioned whether Cape Coast deserved to be a metro. This has been an ongoing discussion within the sector, whether Cape Coast deserved to be a metro at the time it was made a metro. Now, looking at the new metros being proposed, Katamanso, Techiman, and Gomoa East District, I have absolutely no issue with Techiman, knowing the kind of population and the activities, the commercial activities that goes on within Techiman. To a large extent, I'm also fairly okay with the elevation of Katamanso, but it's a bit of a surprise to me relating to Gomoa East. And indeed, Gomoa East is not even a municipality, but it's moving straight from a district assembly and being elevated to a metropolitan assembly. So I need to quite understand what is happening within that enclave. Yes, if you look at if you take a cursory look at the Budumburam area going towards Winneba, quite a number of people are moving into that area. But I'm asking myself whether the area is so urbanized and that the number of people have moved up so much that it is deserving of a metro status.
Metro status.
That is what I'm trying to understand, because this has come to me as a surprise.
Because you look at the considerations as you expertly indicated there, it clearly points to population expansion being one of the major considerations in there as well. But as we speak, it is the evolution of Gomoa, for instance, in terms of the changing status of for the people who are moving in there, that is becoming cosmopolitan. But to the extent that is becoming cosmopolitan, does that necessarily mean that it has assumed a metropolitan status, or it must assume a metropolitan status?
That's why I'm expressing a bit of surprise with that area. I don't have with me the population size of the area, because that is usually the key factor from elevation. But I do admit that, yes, it's a fast-growing area. But whether it has assumed it's gone up to the level that, compared with quite a good number of other municipalities, whether that is one place that we can deem to be up for metropolitan status, is what has come to me as a surprise. But I'm prepared to get a look at the details of factors that have been considered into elevating the area, especially moving them straight from a district status to a metropolitan status. I think it's quite phenomenal. And I was also trying to look at the legal implication, but obviously, I mean, it meets all the legal requirements. It's based on the appropriate law that the minister can use to elevate an area to any status that is chosen.
I'm looking at the and not to interrupt you, I'm looking at the population and housing census details for 2021. As of 2021, based on Ghana Statistical Service data, Gomoa had 308,697 residents or people in the area.
So they far exceed the required number. I mean, for a metro, is going to need 200,000. But let me add that there are quite now a number of municipalities that have exceeded this number, but they've not been elevated to the level of a metro.
So then it begs the question as to the selection criteria, is it not?
Well, again, sometimes the decision may also be based on expected future development of the area. And that's one of the things, if that is the reason. For instance, we know the challenges of our city planning in this country. If the purpose is to pick it out as a growing area so that they can do effective planning to ensure that it meets with standardized development planning processes, I will be happier with that one. However, if it is just to elevate the area, I find it quite intriguing.
You cannot rule out the political considerations in all of this criteria and the process of selection, is it not?
That's an interesting one. But I don't have facts to speak to that.
And I would want to thank you so much for your thoughts on this, as always. Grateful, sir.
You're most welcome.
That's Dr. Frederick Odro. He's a local governance expert there. So live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and also on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. We're back shortly after this quick break with the latest in the world of business. Juliana Menuafol is standing by.
2024 parliamentary and presidential elections. Kofi Akpalu and Samna Tomi team here. Media Matwamano.
The Black Party of Ghana, LPG, presidential candidate, they say, or we never a president here. When you do Makra, Bushmibia, not by the Chauka, 700 Ghana cedis. Akadebia, 500 Ghana cedis. Afi, 10 billion US dollars. Job fund for young entrepreneurs. Now by 2028, now I fix Ghana. Kapena.
Will pay them unemployment benefits. It's nothing to write home about. It's a man supplement.
University education free. Free Wi-Fi for all schools and colleges. Affordable housing and rental accommodation. Galamsey no small scale mining and also obesity ye. So the buyer answer Ghana and Sassini's was say na band be makwa for marijuana for industrial use. It is a walk to Abanua December 7th. Presidential boxing on Shababia Kofi Akpaluda. Now I'm a Shagana.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM.
Hello, good evening. It's time now for the business segment on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, Ghana's crude oil revenue for 2024 projected to surpass 2023 levels as proceeds recorded for first half of the year increased by over 55%. We'll hear from Chairman of Public Interest and Accountability Committee. My name is Menu Afo. Stay tuned for the details of these and more. Now let's get straight to the details. Revenue from Ghana's crude oil production for 2024 is projected to surpass 2023 levels with a 55.6% increase recorded in the first half due to over 10% higher production. Ghana received $840.7 million in the first half of the year, as against $540 million in the same period last year. The Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC's semi-annual report, attributes this growth to the new Jubilee South East well coming on stream. This is Chairman of PIAC.
We have a total of 633 million barrels of oil produced since 2010. And the chart shows each year and the level of production. Now, we are dealing with half year 2024. You will see that it's slightly higher than last year. So the conclusion there is that in terms of 1st January 2024 to 30th June 2024, production of crude oil has gone up slightly as against first half of 2023, which is January to June 2023. I hope you get that. Yes. So there is a slight improvement, and we hope that it continues throughout the year If that continues, then there is a likelihood that crude oil production will be better this year as against 2023.
That was Chairman of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, Constantine Kujaji, projecting Ghana's crude oil revenue for 2024 to surpass the 2023 levels. In more stories, the Ghana Chamber of Mines has announced a significant increase in the purchase of locally manufactured cables, with spending rising by over $1.5 million over the past 4 years. This initiative is a part of the Chamber's broader agenda to boost local content in the mining industry. During a media briefing at the launch of the second phase of electrical cable standards held in partnership with the Ghana Standards Authority, the Chamber CEO, Engineer Suleimanu Kone, reiterated the industry's commitment to enhancing local participation in mining operations.
In fact, the data shows that in 2020, local, procurements of electrical cables manufactured in country was about 580,000. And then in 2022, the data shows that it jumped up to about $2.1 million, which is quite positive, quite significant, well over 200%. And it's something we need to push, not just for electrical cables, but all other inputs we believe we can produce locally. But the undergirding factor has to be standards, because the mining industry will not countenance a situation where below par standards actually get into their production process. So the thing is to work out and make sure that these products meet the required standards, and then you're sure that once it goes into production, it can also support production. Yeah.
Well, that over there was Ghana Chamber of Mines CEO Engineer Suleimanu Kone there. Now, looking ahead, the Minerals Commission has set a target to source up to 90% of the industry's cable requirements locally within the next 2 years, aiming to further strengthen Ghana's economy. Representing the CEO of the Commission, Director of Policy, Planning and Minerals Titles, Engineer Colin Saki, expressed confidence in reaching this ambitious goal.
We believe that it will become a game changer from moving electrical cables from the current 51.28% in terms of true local procurement, which again represents about $2.2 million to about 90% in the next 2 years.
You heard the voice of Director of Policy, Planning and Minerals Titles at the Minerals Commission, Engineer Colin Saki there. Well, that's it for the business segment on Hot Edition. For more stories, kindly log onto our website. It's www.3news.com. My name is Minu Afo. Now, sports news is up next with Oweku Ampofo.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Oweku Ampofo, and it's been a huge day in Ghana football as Black Stars coach Otto Addo unveiled a 25-man squad for Ghana's upcoming crucial Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers against Angola and Niger. Now, the major talking points are that the notable selections include 3 home-based players, while star midfielder and captain Thomas Partey has been dropped from the team. My colleague Billy Shen was on the ground and found this report.
Not many expected it to happen, but it has. During the Black Star squad announcement that was done by Otto Addo, he announced his squad without one key name, Thomas Partey, who, of course, has been the captain of the Black Stars for a while. Thomas Partey missed the doubleheader against Sudan, and a lot of reports came out leaving a lot of ambiguity about his status with the Black Stars. And Otto Addo has clarified why he did not include him this time.
Like I said, you have certain responsibility, not only as a captain. No, you have to have certain responsibility. You have to be disciplined. You have to be a role model. You have to be And also you have to show the performance. You have to be committed, everything. And if I see something is lacking, maybe the performance, maybe the commitment, maybe this or that, then you will have a talk with me. And if I don't see that in that talk, then I won't invite you, that's all.
So in addition to that, Jordan Ayew has been named the captain of the Black Stars for the games against Angola and also Niger. Also as his vice captains will be Mohamed Kudus and Alexander Jiku. But for the local players, we have Isaac Afo from Samatex, we have Razak Simpson of Nations FC and Emmanuel Entry from Kotoko, who have been included in the squad. Also returning for the first time in quite a while is Abdul Manaf Nuruddin, who is the goalkeeper also for the Black Stars. Now, Otuado is looking forward to win his next 2 games to give Black Stars a possible chance to qualify for Morocco 2025.
We have to just try to do our best, and it's for me it's a pressure situation surely, but it's nothing more or less than what I've experienced in my whole life and also career and also us.
So the players are expected to start arriving during the weekend, and camping officially starts on Monday. Now, the first game will be against Angola on the 15th of November away from home, and the second game will take place in the Accra Sports Stadium against Niger on the 18th of November. Belishan, for 3 Sports from the GFA headquarters, Accra.
Or let's still stay with the Black Stars, because as I mentioned, one of the major talking points was the captaincy. Jordan Ayew has now taken over from Mohamed Kudus, who was previously the captain in the October international window and wore the armband for the doubleheader against Sudan. Now, Coach Otuado has been explaining his decision behind why he chose Jordan ahead of the Western midfielder this time around.
So once he's not there now, surely, after I talked to Thomas, first of all, I had to talk to Kudus. For him, I think he's still young. He needs to grow into that role. The last time he was the captain, it was a situation where we actually expected Thomas to come. We have, Jico and Kudus who were like assisting Thomas. And last time I took the decision to make Kudus a captain. And now, as we know, Thomas is not coming, and it's not a permanent thing. So we are always open for him to return. I hope that the things we talked about, that he will do better in that, and that he will join the team maybe the next window in March. I think he understood my perspective. We had a good talk, and we are in good terms, just for you to know.
So that was Black Stars coach Otuado, and that's been dominating the news with regards to sports, especially here in Ghana. But before we go, just a reminder that there are some crucial Europa League action. Matches being played later tonight. Some have already kicked off. Galatasaray versus Tottenham Hotspur is currently 1-1 in that game, 23 minutes done. And Ludogorets have just scored an opening goal against Iñaki Williams' Athletic Bilbao. Later tonight, Manchester United would also be in action under Ruud van Nistelrooy as they host PAOK. From Greece. Babaraman would also be in there. You can get updates on all of these games and many more on our social media handles at 3 Sports GH. My name is Ore Kwampofo, and Hot Edition continues right after this.
The most comprehensive election coverage.
Top-notch presenters and well-versed analysts.
Dedicated reporters and correspondents in every nook and cranny across the country.
All the action, every incident reported. All the big stories covered.
All facts cross-checked. Every figure verified.
Every vote monitored and accounted for.
The numbers tallied, analyzed, and interpreted.
We have invested time and energy in order to bring you a comprehensive elections coverage.
The whole world will be watching us on TV, online, and radio.
Election Command Center. Facts, analysis, results. The most comprehensive election coverage.
Top-notch presenters and well-versed analysts.
Dedicated reporters and correspondents in every nook and cranny across the country.
All the action, every incident reported. All the big stories covered.
All facts cross-checked. Every figure verified.
Every vote monitored and accounted for.
The numbers tallied, analyzed, and interpreted.
We have invested time and energy in order to bring you a comprehensive elections coverage.
The whole world will be watching us on TV, online, and radio.
Election Command Center. Facts, analysis, results.
Hey, ready to make your drive home epic? It's the 3FM Drive with the one and only Giovanni Killen right here on 3FM 92.7. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. We're transforming your commute into a top-tier experience. Need a pick-me-up? Our music belt is pure energy, pure vibes. Stay ahead with the Drive Sports, bringing you the latest scores and highlights. Curious about the stars? We've got all the hottest trends, celebrity profile interviews, plus DJ faculty has got you.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays on 3FM Drive. You know where it's at.
This is where the action is at, live on the 3FM Drive on 3FM 92.7. Welcome to the 3FM Drive. That's right!
That there has been some riots at Abetifi in Kwao East District of the Eastern Region involving a certain woman and the chief of the area. Let's get on our phone lines now and speak to our correspondent Yvonne Nekwe, who is monitoring events for us. Yvonne, just bring us more as regards what's happening right now.
Well, Beatrice, there's an easy calm in the Abetifi the forceful arrest and detention of the Abetifi today. It's for Nana Adu Ajamai. The police intervened in the situation and he's been taken back to his palace. Now, the youth of the area are protesting as to why he was arrested. Now, this is the chief we know is in the middle of the faction leading the effort to get the Kwao Mahene restored because of his involvement in the agri-development bank issue. And so the development today have been really speed and chaotic, but peace has been restored because the police intervened, but really an easy situation in the area.
You tell us more, really give us the background. What happened? Why are we where we are?
Well, where we are because of probably, if we could say, chieftaincy dispute. Well, we cannot say there's a correlation between what is happening to the Kwao Mahene and why a woman in the center of this issue called the Abuetia would cause the arrest and detention of the Abetifi. But this is what is culminating in what we are saying. And so later this happened today. The Abuetia, accompanied with some men, went to the palace to cause the arrest and detention of the Abetife Henning. The youth had to protest that. The police came in to ensure that the chief is returned back to his palace. And so there are several questions we're asking as to exactly why this is happening, if it is indeed in correlation with the Kuruma Henning's case and the disagreement that probably has caused scandal to them, or probably as a different issue, why the said woman who is the Abuetia. When we say Abuetia are usually part of the elders who are consulted before a chief is installed. And so, of course, he caused the unlawful arrest, and she has been arrested with her accomplices to the police station as we speak now.
Thank you very much, Yvonne Ekwe. She's our correspondent in the Eastern region. Let's bring in some more here. And the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research, known previously for groundbreaking research into infectious diseases, is moving into non-communicable diseases as well. This move is to support the government effort aimed at ensuring universal health coverage. Let's listen to the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Esiedu-Bekoin, speak on this.
Enjoy working in the woods because we need to be sure what we are dealing with. So I look at the mission, and the core mandate, and I think that is actually in line. It's a big plus in the woods. So I think that going forward, as a service, we will continually collaborate with the Gucci. We are in an era of uncertainties, an era of unusual events, an era of zoonotic conditions. How sure can we be if you are not sure with diagnostics? I was only part of a meeting just 9 o'clock today. It's discussing Mpox in Africa. And normally, our data is coming from the Gucci. So I remember the first picture we had. Africa had only 30% sciences is based on confirmation and diagnosis. And so when you have a very center of excellence like Noguchi, you are very certain of how you're progressing.
And you had the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service. Meanwhile, the Director of the Institute, Professor Dorothy Yeboah Menu, says that the Age Agenda 2063 will see Noguchi establish a drug recovery hub and coordinate the discovery of drugs such as malaria.
Upon Ghana's quest to achieve universal health coverage, the Institute, as initially was so much involved in infectious disease, has moved into non-communicable diseases. We are doing a lot now looking at the interface between communicable and non-communicable diseases, such as looking at tuberculosis and diabetes. We are now looking at mental health. We are looking at maternal and child health as well. As we move for the future, we want to reposition the Institute to be useful and to be part.
And you heard that the Director of the Noguchi Memorial Institute, Professor Dorothy Yeboah Menu, and we do apologize for the poor quality of that sound. Let's go to the camp of the NDC now, where the Electoral Commission insists that it is not obliged to present a summary of the certified voters register to political parties following a demand by the NDC after an IPAC meeting. The electoral body's meeting with the various political parties and independent presidential candidates a month to the polls was fraught with high tempers, triggering the NDC to return the certified register to the EC. George Quainin reports.
What started as a presentation of certified voters register to the various political parties ended quite chaotic after the NDC sharply demanded a summary of the register. It took the EC more than 6 hours to get to work. After the wait, the EC chair, Jean Mensah, addressed the various political parties, insisting that the electoral body is not obliged to present a summary of the certified register and that it is still fit for purpose. But before that, let's hear from the Director of IT, Dr. Oforeje.
It takes time to be able to do that. And so we are unable to provide it to you now as we speak. per what we are doing now and our assessment, is going to take anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour to finish that process. Then we can then start generating the statistics for you.
As a commission, we will take our leave now, and it's up to you to keep it or return it, but it is a certified true copy of the register. You cannot hold us to ransom. We are not obliged to give you a summary. This has been the practice since 1992, and it is out of, the spirit of transparency and responsiveness, as I mentioned, that we are providing those summaries to you. So as we indicated, we will notify you tomorrow, and we will send the summaries, I believe, that by soft copy. Those who return their own, when you get the summaries via WhatsApp or email, you can come and pick up your certified register.
Some parties opposed this, but the MPP agreed on giving time to the EC to do the needful.
You need time to work out this. Some said they will return their guide. On the part of New Patriotic Party, we will keep our guide.
The largest opposition party, NDC, returned the certified register, demanding the summary comes with the register.
We are not going to accept this. You cannot force anything on her. And say, who is holding she is holding Ghana into ransom. For more than 6 hours, she held you to ransom. To come and now use that kind of thing on you and telling you that if you want, you can go, we can have, we've handed it to her. She can keep her electoral commission. We too are a major political party. We'll see who is who.
We wait to see what happens next whilst the EC prepares a summary for the political parties in the run-up to the December polls. George Queening, Electoral Commission Headquarters, Accra.
And that's it for Campaign Trail on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. And that's it for Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to shrenews.com for more news. Have a good evening and do enjoy the rest of our programs.